So yeah, welcome back to this stream. Let me just go ahead and open up this panel. Yeah, last time we left off with our base file. I did fiddle around with this. I changed the primary color a bit. I was still looking for something different. So I think actually had a different primary color I liked better. But let me just go ahead and open up my stream dashboard. So yeah, what I want to do is I looked up a few things regarding this, and I looked at a few different things that also need to be fixed for sometimes IE10. Also a bug for Firefox with borders around buttons, I think. But I've got like a few notes on my side here. So yeah, let's check how that goes so far. Yeah, what we want to do today is the server open run. Yeah, server's running. Our development server is going as well. So the blue tone that I had going on as primary for testing before was this. That compiles, yep. My server's running at localhost port 3000. Yeah, it's still working like it used to before. So, we left off there. What we want to finish off was this file. So for the HTML style, I was thinking, so we want to set the, or what we've already, okay, just give me a second. So yeah, there are a few things that I needed to do here. So first of all, what we've already done is set the font family just as a default for all browsers. Then we needed to correct the line height for all browsers. And I'll either set that to the line height base, or I'll set it something below that. Let me just put the variables back over here. That's supposed to be UI, by the way. Still load it for some reason. But yeah, I can also remove that for now. This line height was, what's that? Line height, that's 1 point. That'll do the job, I think. I may reduce that to about maybe 1.15, but I'm not too sure. Then what else did I mention on my list? So there was, I think there's a problem with IE on Windows phones and on iOS with some weird font size changes after orientation changes. So what that fixes was webkit-text-size-adjust 100%, so it won't adjust the text size after reorientating a phone. And then also, I think there was something else, but I think it wasn't something very important, it was just some minor thing. Then on my list I've got something to suppress the outline of elements which can't be focused by the keyboard. And I think I found a way to do that. Let me just... Is it something... It's actually... It's not typography, it's... Let's just put it here. I think I did that by saying the tab index. I think the value we were looking for is -1 on focus. And I want to set line equal to 0 button. That way when you remove focus outline on elements that cannot be accessed via keyboard. Because that was like when you can press tab to switch the focus on elements. Sometimes you don't want that to happen, so you can set the tab index, but maybe it still will respond to a pointer input, and that way you won't get an outline when tabbing. I think that was that. Then for the links, I found that there was another bug. And some of these are just, I've looked basically at some, there are some CSS restyle systems which basically just fix a few things and fix a few things for different browsers, so it's more general. I've looked at multiple of those and found a few things that could help me here, so I'm just grabbing like bits and bits of everything and picking myself a nice selection. Some of it are things I've come across in my own time in my own projects, but some of it are found online. So there's also a fix that we want to do here. So when an A hasn't got an href and not tab index, there was also I think I'm just remembering this now off the top of my head because I don't know what was the problem. I think I could have fixed it by saying that this would need to have an href and a tab index to apply this styles, but I think there was a different problem, so that was the way that was doing it recommended. I think the things that were needed to do was set the color to inherit, set the text decoration to none, and I think it also had a weird outline when focused, and since it hasn't got a href and not a tab index, we don't want it to get a focus, so we'll set on focus, we'll put the outline equal to 0. That way we fix understars for anchors without href tab index. So now what else do I wanted to do? Or what else have I already done? So we've done this for the typography side of things. We need to get into tables, we need to get into forms. What I can already do is, that's something I like, the hidden element. I'm not remembering where I found that sometime, but you could use that to apply the display none. And that is actually implemented in some browsers, but it's not fully implemented in IE10 as well. Lots of things of it in this file are just to overwrite like small bugs and things in IE10 or things it doesn't support. and things in Firefox etc. So hide element with hidden fix for IE10, like so many other things in here. Hide element with the hidden, how's it called? Is it an attribute, or do you have to specify HTML attribute? I think attribute works fine. Yeah. Next off, what do I want to do? I'm thinking about getting into the grid or finishing this first. I know that there's quite a lot of things that you should reset when working with forms. I also want to get a few differences with margin, everything into the forms. I think the forms should be quite a long thing to do. But I need to do them at some point, so I can also just go ahead and do them now. Yeah. For my form, what I want to do is, where will I do this? Probably here somewhere. Forms. Before, I'll think there was actually another bug for IE10 which has to do with SVGs and overflows. So I think it was just overflow hidden, which should fix also as the image is vertical align middle. And this is just go ahead and I'm tempted about doing it this way and then writing the message in here and just saying 1 or so. I think that's the way I'm going to do it. Remove IE10. So yeah, and this was what was it? Support. It's not quite a fix, it's more like a workaround sort of thing. Let's just go ahead and call it fix for an SVG overflow back in IE10. I'm not sure if it also was 11, I think it was. Fix for so that was something I wanted to do. Now back to here. So what do we want to start? We want to start labels. We want to, there was a problem with, which I mentioned before, the Firefox Internet Explorer thing with the buttons. First, let's just, I think there will be some styles that will apply to pretty much every single one of the form things. Select group. And last but not least, the text area. I think there will be something that needs to be styled by all of them. There was some problem or something that I had in a previous project where there was something with overflow and edge on these elements. So I'll say the overflow should be visible. One show show overflow in edge. Sorry that this is at the moment more of a coding stream. We'll get more into the design features later on, but first we just need to set up all the basic fixes and everything. I'm trying to get more of the boring stuff like this and the grid out of the way before I'll start with the design side of things. So I'll just start with the design so I don't have a proper base to work on. Show overflow and edge. Yeah, the button that needed the label that should have a display of inline block. And also I want to give that a margin bottom as well, like I did to the paragraph and to the header, to the headings. And this one will be called label margin bottom. So we'll need to define that. I think I'll go with the same as for this one. I can actually pass the default in here as well, and also in here. So now we got margin bottom for these. Can I actually get this open chat in a new window? So that I can have the chat on my second monitor. Yeah, nice. Let me just check OBS. Everything is still working. Let's just work a bit on these. What I want to give them is remove the margin that was for, I think it is Firefox and Safari, which it has some margin on. And I later on want to style my own margin when doing the in the modules the underscore forms partial. This will be when all the fun stuff happens, when we get into the modules folder. The font family should just inherit the font size. It should not include, also inherit the actually as well. Here we go, and the one was to actually as well to remove margin on Firefox and Safari. I think that also was for all of these. I'm not sure if I'll add something to all of them later on. I'm just working the way down my list. So also there was a bug with the button and the select. It must have a text transform of none. And this will theoretically work around the inheritance of the how's it called? The inheritance of the text transform in Firefox. Work. No, actually it's not work around. It's more like remove. Remove the text transform inheritance in Firefox. I need to put the one. You know, for these this could be 1, this could be 2, in case I have a block of code with multiple things that I want to make clear what I'm doing. But I think most of what I've done so far is clear except for these, like when you need to remove something specially for something or somehow. That's when it's good to put a few comments in, I think. Yeah, then what else did I have to do? That was an important one. Then I think I've read about an issue with the word wrap in the select thing. I've read quite a few things about default HTML problems in browsers because I wanted to get most things in. I think there's actually some sort of framework that does exactly this. Not sure what's called normalize or something. Something to restyle pretty much everything in your code. Or not restyle, to do exactly what I'm doing, this sort of base styling for the HTML before you start writing any special code for the typography and the images and so on. Yeah, but what I want to do is do word wrap normal, mark it in here. This is one. One is to remove the word wrap inheritance in Safari. Then there was some sort of styling problem for iOS on Safari, or Safari and iOS. It was also a problem with the audio and video controls on Android 4, which I think is quite old, but still something to think of when developing a framework. That was for all the major types of buttons, so with the type of button, with the type of reset, and of course our form with the type of submit. I think that's all of them. And it was important that we put the not every single one, so everything that hasn't got this, but what we, or something that hasn't got the disabled, we want to, oh, never mind, that was something else that I read. Just got mixed up in me comments. That I should have written a longer text on what I want to fix. What I wanted to do in here is the web. Now it's giving me autocomplete for what I wrote before. The WebKit dash appearance should be button. And this correct it. Now, do we want to, that was the code that I wrote before. What I'm not too sure about is if I want to, if you got a non-disabled button, you don't get the pointer cursor like the one with the hand. So I'm thinking if we let that, or if I'll define it as a variable, like have a few, I think Bootstrap was a framework that has a lot of variables, and they've probably done it that way. Something like allow pointer for buttons or on buttons or something. Allow. No, that's not something needed, I guess. I'll just leave the entire button thing out. Then there was another problem for IE10, which had to do with inputs with the type of radio, and for inputs with the type of checkbox. So this has to do something. First of all, we need to fix the correct border sizing, and now you can see why this with the numbers comes in handy. So F1 and we'll have 2. 1 adds the correct box sizing in IE10. Love how pretty much everything in this file is made for IE10. I'm just checking how I wrote IE10 before, because if I'm spacing out all the time, I also want to do it all the time. Yeah, adds the correct box sizing in IE10, and also it removes. Let's just keep that remove and add, because I kept the remove up here and the hide. Remove, what was it? The padding in IE10. No, but so I've got that done. That all compiles. Yeah, why shouldn't it? It's not like I've done anything crazy with the variables that could have messed up. I want to add a comment here just to make clear what it does. Prevent I'm working around a bug in WebKit that had to do with weird styling on buttons would mess up the audio and controls, and the audio controls and the video controls. So I'll just say fixes WebKit bug. Which has to do with messed up audio and video. So yeah, that is that. Now let's take a look at OBS and see how we're doing. We're at 30 minutes, we got a bit done in this file. I'm not sure if I want to go for the grid in the next one, or if I want to start the grid in this one. Yeah, I'm not sure. just check some older files. On my external hard drive. It was in the dev, wrong folder. So I think the grid is something for a different video, but we can do a bit of planning maybe. So I want, I've got the mix already set up. I need to advance this file a bit. What I'll try to do early and what I may finish off later is, or tomorrow or then in a few days, is a color system. So I want to have I want to have a primary, which is blue, a secondary, which is gray, a success, which is green, a warning, yellow, danger, red, info, light blue, indigo, purplish, and that's about it. I also want to have a few grays. And for each of these, I want to have either I do it, I think Viewdify is using that. It's the lighten 1, 2, 3 etc. or the darken 1, 2, 3 etc. Or I could do the darkest, dark, beige, light, lighter, lightest. Also here it has to be darker. So that way I'd get 1, 2, 3 dark colors, the base color, and the 3 light colors. The way I've, well, now that's funny, I'm typing in here. Yeah. That way, I've seen that in quite a few frameworks. Some frameworks just use, look, we've already got the indigo complete. Or auto-completing by the default HTML color. I think I may need to create a root file so that I can specify my own indigo, specify my own HTML override. So we've got like the HTML blue, red. What else have we got? Indigo, orange, and so on. And they all have got colors by default, so that I can override them. No, but I've seen that in quite a few frameworks. I think Tailwind CSS uses this. Viewdify uses that. Materialized CSS uses that. I believe Bootstrap's just got their set of primary, secondary, success, danger, info. I'm not sure if I'm going to call that error maybe. Or if I'm going to call it primary, secondary, and then I'm going to have green, yellow, red, light blue or something. Not sure I'm going to call that, but that's how I want to have it. And then basically you can have your in the HTML you'll have your div with the class of primary, and then you can, that would give you the base color, and then you can add, so if we would have that color by now, and then you could add every single one of these and it would give you the color that you wanted. So you put it in primary and then dark, you have this, or you could say text dash primary, and then you could say text dash dark maybe. That way it would do it for the text as well. I'll need to see. I'll think tomorrow I'll do the grid system. Then I can also maybe start with some of the flex helper classes while we're at it. And then over the next week I want to finish off all the files that will be in the root directory, which I think would be, I mean, it would be the utils file, which gets all of the utils from there. It would be the modules file, which gets all the modules. It would be the mixed file that already exists that gets all the mixins, the base file to override all the defaults, the variables file. And then there's pretty much just the typography file, the grid file, and the functions file, or not file, they're all partials. All them partials left that I want to create over the course of this week. Get a basic color system in, and then we can start fully with the interesting part, which will conclude the components. Not sure. So yeah, obviously for my grid, I'm just using this file now as a note file. For the grid, I want to use 12 columns in a .row class. There will be an extra small, which will be just straight up the column dash your size thing. I want to have an SM breakpoint as well. I want to have an MD breakpoint, an LG breakpoint, and an extra large breakpoint. Would pretty much be the grid. The grid would also be the container classes. I want to have a container fluid. Actually, I'll make a different class because the container contains quite a few things that the fluid container won't contain. That's pretty much the grid. So yeah, nothing really to show you today in the HTML file that's lying on the server, because everything we did was just, I mean, the hidden thing, that's not really something to really show you. I mean, if we've got, I don't know if I minimized it, if we have got if we got this file and we go back over here and we'll say, for example, in the H1, we can add the hidden element, and then we can go back over, and all of a sudden the H1 is gone. And if I remove it again and save, the H1 is there again. You get it. Oh, that will pretty much conclude this, I think. I'll do a stream tomorrow or something. Probably. If you're not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe to don't miss any following up streams of this progress. This series will probably turn out to take, well, this project maybe a bit more than a month of regular content. And after that, I may do a tutorial series on how to build your own design system, so that every one of you can actually go ahead and build the system done for their workflow. So yeah, that concludes this video.